Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Editorial Edge. My name is Bhuvan and I welcome each one of you once again who's joining me for the last Editorial Edge of this week, right? So without further ado, let's not waste much time. We have 4 topics that we need to take a look at. The first one is obviously to do with graphene now. Okay, and graphene has been asked previously by the UPSC in the prelims as well as in the mains. Okay, so we'll take a look at the recent development regarding graphene. Thereafter, we'll take a look at FloodWatch, which is again a recent development initiated by the CWC, the Water Commission of India. Okay, we'll take a look at what FloodWatch is meant for. Thereafter, we'll understand what 3D printing is, because again, what I found in today's newspapers is a major news covering the first 3D printed post office that has been launched in Bengaluru, Karnataka. Okay, so obviously, while that fact is important in isolation, we also need to understand the process of 3D printing as to what does it exactly entail. Okay, good morning, Bulbul. Welcome. All right. And thereafter, the last topic is what we'll basically be revising what we have done previously, in fact, is the desiccation tolerant plants, which are primarily found in India. When you consider the desiccation tolerant plants, you are considering the area of Western Ghats. Okay, so this is a revision. Again, the focus being that we pick up the most important news, understand the topic, rather than the news. The focus should be on topical understanding and analysis. Okay, and that's what I intend on doing here. Gitansh, good morning. Welcome. All right. Okay, so let's get started. So what I'm going to first ask you to do is, well, this is my Instagram ID. So if you want to connect with me, go ahead and scan this. Okay. If you have any particular query, obviously you can direct them to my email ID. And the PDF of this particular lecture, which I'm going to present before you, it will be available in my Telegram channel, say around noon. All right. So go ahead, scan this. Obviously, I also upload mains related questions here. On weekends, I also upload prelims related questions related to the topics we discuss here. So it's a place of learning. Okay. I do not spam a lot. So go ahead. If you want to engage in that sort of constructive learning, I'd suggest you go ahead and scan this and become a part of it. Raghavendra, good morning. Thanks for joining, guys. Okay. All right, let's get started now. So when you consider the graphene, the news that has been currently that we are focusing on today is that the MeitY, the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, now they have announced a graphene Aurora program. Okay. So now first let's understand what the program is talking about, what the policy is. So what does it say? Essentially, from the ideation, once again, up until the market, there is going to be hand-holding for this sector, the graphene sector. Okay. So let's understand this. The initiative aims to harness the potential of graphene, a remarkable material. Obviously, we'll discuss what graphene is. It's the first 2D material, and say even though it's born out of carbon, and so it's similar, say diamond. Both have their origin in say carbons. What you understand is that they react and they perform in completely different manners. Okay, and so graphene was a recent discovery. In fact, this has been found as recently as I think 2004. So a lot of research is still going on, but the potential of graphene in isolation is a lot. Okay. So now the first question that will come to your mind is, what exactly is graphene? Well, it is derived from graphite. Okay. The same material that you find, say, in the pencil, the nib of your pencil. All right. And now the whole problem or the whole property of graphene is designed by, say, the lattice arrangement. We'll discuss what is the lattice arrangement of graphene. Okay. So it aims to harness the potential of this particular material. And what it is looking at is innovation, research, and more importantly, from the exam perspective, commercialization, which means that you're looking at scaling products of graphene. Okay. So you're not just going to limit yourself to go ahead and say research and develop, but also create a market space for it, which is why you find that the company that has been set up under Section 8, it's a not-for-profit company. All right. We'll discuss this. The Indian Graphene Engineering and Innovation Center. It's a not-for-profit company which is being established. Once again, this is the institutional framework that is being provided for graphene. Okay. Say for graphene R&D. So now once again, if the examination of the question asks you about, say, the institutional framework or the initiatives taken in institutionalizing the sector of graphene in India, Well, your point has to compulsorily include India Graphene Engineering and Innovation Center. Okay. Now, what does this company seek to do? It is established to bridge the gap between research and development, and then more importantly, commercialization. It's going to find ways and means to make sure that the products that are being developed, researched and developed, they find a space in the market. Okay, based out of Trivandrum in Kerala. Once again, this would be a fodder point for your MCQs. I suggest making a note of it. All right. Now, the IGEC aims to provide a comprehensive platform. Obviously, you're looking at startups and the companies that are already in the business. Okay. So, if you are looking at, say, going ahead and innovating, it not necessarily means that you have to be associated with, say, big companies. If you have an idea, if you have, say, the particular R&D developed, go ahead and collaborate with IGEIC. All right. Enabling the smooth transition of graphene innovations from the lab to the market. Now, why am I overstressing on, say, or stressing actually on, say, the commercialization angle? Because eventually what you find is, say, with the other organizations that operate under the government, they are most likely limited to, say, research and development, and thereafter at most, say, product development. Okay. However, what's missing often is the scalability factor. Now, please understand, these are the, say, particular stages in which you develop a product. Okay. So more often than not, what you find is that with the different government agencies, the participation is limited only up till here. Okay. Hand-holding is provided for the scalability in terms of only, say, marketing. But commercialization is again, say, a first of its kind that has happened in the graphene industry. All right. So I suggest you make a note of that point too. All right. Let's go forward and understand graphene now. So 2004, the world first comes to know about graphene. All right. You had a scientist, Andrew Jain, I believe, and his student, a PhD scholar. They together worked on it, in fact, and 2010 Nobel is what they were conferred with. All right. So what you understand is obviously that this is a recent development, and because the person who came up with the whole idea of graphene and, say, how it actually works has been awarded, say, Nobel Prize, you understand that the whole R&D of the whole world now is focused on graphene. Why? Obviously, it's got some very tangible reasons. Number one, its atomic structure. Okay, it consists of a single layer of carbon atoms bonded together in a honeycomb lattice. Okay, forming a two-dimensional structure. In fact, it is the world's first two-dimensional product. In fact, you can ask or say a particular, it's the first of its kind. Good morning, Pranjal. How are you? Welcome, welcome. Okay, so because of its atomic structure, it gets a lot of flexibility. It gets a lot of properties that hitherto would not be found in, say, other atomic structures. Okay, its lattice arrangement is such that it is able to, say, withstand a lot of stress. It is able to, say, store a lot of energy. It is able to, say, correspond to heat in a manner in which it can sustain itself. So these have, obviously, you understand, these properties give graphene a lot of, say, practical applications. Right from, say, sports goods to, say, cars, automobile industry, electronics, the applications are varied. Okay, so let's look at the other properties that graphene has. Exceptional strength. So despite, what you understand is that despite it is just a single layer, okay, this is just a single layer of atoms placed together in a two-dimensional model. Okay, it's a single layer that you're looking at. Even though it is just one single layer, in spite of that, it is incredibly strong and resilient. In fact, it's 100 times more resilient and strong than steel. Okay. Good morning, Harapriya. How are you? Welcome, welcome. Thanks for joining, guys. Okay. Are you able to understand and capture the essence of graphene here? Thereafter, you're looking at better conductivity. Okay. It exhibits exceptional electrical conductivity, allowing electrons to move at high speeds. Can you understand the applications of this, guys? Give me the applications of this. If it has good electrical conductivity, okay, if it's got a superior electronic conductivity, what are the applications of this? Quickly, just let me know in the chat box. Very quickly. Okay. And it is also optically transparent, which means it lets light pass through. You see how the properties actually are so much in consonance with what you would expect in practical applications. Now let's look at the practical applications since you understand the properties of graphene now. Okay. Let's look at it. So the applications, number one, electronics. Its high electrical conductivity that we just discussed, okay, it makes it a promising candidate for transistors and electronic devices. You understand now the market, why the government is focusing on commercialization, that eventually the potential of this product is such that you're looking at not just electronics but flexible electronics. So the smart watches that you wear, okay, all of these health monitors that you wear, all of these are called flexible electronics, okay, flexible, foldable, wearable electronic devices. So your phone that basically folds, it has got graphene, or that it is making use of that graphene's lattice structure, you know, wherein it is again very tensile. It is going to be absolutely flexible. The way you want to mold it, it's going to happen. Are you able to understand the practical dimensions of this product, guys? Okay. It's got applications in material science and more importantly in energy storage. Now how? It shows potential for high capacity batteries. Okay. It can act as a capacitor too. Okay. Can someone let me know what is a capacitor? Physics 101, class 11 physics. So since it can act as a capacitor, it can store energy within itself, what you're looking at is that, well, it's going to be used as a solar cell. You're going to store energy in it and then market the product. Absolutely, Bulbul. If you're wearing a smartwatch, it's got graphene in it. Okay. If you're using a product of electronics, chances are it has used graphene. Okay. It's embedded in the product. Obviously, it's not completely made out of it. It's embedded in it and it forms a major chunk of what the product is. Are you able to grasp the essence of graphene here? Okay. So, which is why I suggest that the Graphene Aurora program of the Government of India, okay, I suggest that you make a note of this, because again graphene has been asked previously by the UPSC. Okay, and so development of that particular sector by the government should be a focus area, at least an area that you should take note of as an aspirant. All right. Okay, let's go forward and let's look at the challenges now. So firstly, you're looking at mass production, obviously, because R&D is still going on. Because of the lack of R&D, you're also looking at whether it is environmentally sustainable, what effect does it have, say, on human health, okay? What are the linkages in terms of, say, ecosystem, where eventually you are going to discard the product that is made out of graphene. How does it respond to stress ecologically when it is exposed to sunlight, say, or water, say? How does it disintegrate? All of that, you're still finding that the R&D is still underway, okay? Or at least the evidences that have come so far have been inconclusive, okay? And band gap, it has limited band gap. So the students of, say, electronics will tell you that if something has limited band gap, it means it finds less applications in semiconductors, okay? So again, R&D is still limited on this. Once again, the problem so arises why? Because you're looking at 2004, just 20 years of, say, R&D in it, research and development in it, which is why it's imperative that firstly, India goes ahead and researches on it, develops products, innovates products, and finally finds the market space for them, which is why the Graphene Aurora program has been launched. Okay, clear? All right, you'll go through this slide. It's nothing very important insofar as, say, your prelims is concerned. From the mains perspective, obviously, it's got further points that you can use. All right, okay, that was the first topic that we had. Now, before we go forward, well, here is an announcement for all those of you who are preparing for Civil Services 2024. So, the last batch that started on the 11th, well, we are already, say, I'm part of the geography crew. So, you will see that we're already, say, 10 to 15% already done with the, say, pre-geography bit. Okay. And so, we have started for what, like 8 days already. That's the focus and essence of, say, this P2I batch. And so, if you're lacking direction so far, if you're unable to figure out and have a particular routine, I suggest all those who are serious about next year, go ahead and sign up for this program, okay, beginning on the 23rd. And what you're looking at is, this is in fact an evening batch. Yes, this is an evening batch. So you know what you're essentially going to find is that the P2I is offered in terms of, say, 2 batches, a morning batch and an evening batch. And I suggest that you take whichever batch you're comfortable with whenever you are, say, more ready to study, or you have the time to study. Go ahead and sign up for it if you're actually looking for, say, a consolidated, holistic approach to the examination, okay? You will find the sign up link in the description box. And when you do sign up, make sure that you use the code BALIVE, because that way I get allotted to your batch and we go ahead and prepare together for your examination. All right. Raghavendra, the RNS series shall resume next week. I promise you that will happen. Okay. This week has been a little busy, but the environment and ecology series that we had started, I assure you, it will be back on air next week. Pakka se. Okay, thanks for reminding, Raghavendra. All right, let's go forward. Let's look at the second topic that I have for you called Flood Watch. Now, it's essentially a mobile app. Okay, it's a mobile app that has been launched by the Central Water Commission, the Government of India. Okay, what is the Central Water Commission? It's an attached office under the Ministry of Jal Shakti. We will see. I'll also inform you about the Central Water Commission. First, let's understand the app. What are the features of the app? Number one, firstly, your takeaway, the Flood Watch is a mobile application by the CWC. Now, what is it looking to do as an individual? Okay, if you are an individual, what you're looking at is real-time flood information and forecasts up to 7 days using mobile phones. Now, here, there are two things that you need to understand. Number one is flood forecast. Okay, and number two is flood advisory. Okay, so now please understand that flood forecast is the short-term forecast that will be given by the app to you. For example, it will only be limited to 24 hours. The advisory will be a long-term advice that will be given to you in terms of say 7 days. That okay, do this, don't do this. This is the rainfall that is predicted. This much is precipitation that is going to happen. These are the risks. All that is part of the flood advisory. However, the forecast will exclusively give you real-time information about the type of precipitation that is going to happen. Say about the type of water release that is going to happen. All of that will be a part of the flood forecast. Okay, make sure that you understand that the flood forecast is the short-term advice that is given, whereas the flood advisory is the long-term. Correct? Okay, all right. Now the problems, again Bulbul has correctly identified that the problem is right now, and in fact the limitation of this whole mobile app is that it is just limited to 2 languages, and so it is imperative that it is rolled out in all the scheduled languages of India. In fact, as far as possible, include all the languages, dialects, whatever is possible to get the information out. That is a correct limitation that has been identified. Okay, so you're looking at flood forecast, which is 24 hours, and flood advisory, which is 7 days. Okay, make sure that you take this information from this particular slide. And you're also looking at not just information for the individual, obviously, you're looking at including the state. Okay, so the mobile app, Flood Watch, includes services for both of them and gives you a 7-day forecast and a 24-hour forecast. The whole slide explained in one particular flow chart or diagram, whichever way you want to understand it. Okay, okay. Now let's look at the CWC, because again this mobile app has been developed by the Central Water Commission, the Government of India. So let's look at the CWC. Now it's a premier technical organization. In fact, it is an attached office. Okay, so it's an attached office, which means it's not autonomous, it's non-autonomous. So if the examination maintains that it is an autonomous organization under the Ministry of Jal Shakti, no, it is an attached office in the Ministry of Jal Shakti, Department of Water Resources, River Development and Ganga Rejuvenation, Bharat Sarkar. Clear? You will understand it that it is a non-autonomous body. All right. Can you give me an example of say an autonomous body? Someone from the chat. Give me an example of an autonomous body that say functions under the Government of India. Any one organization, let's see. You ought to remember the difference, okay? Attached office is straight away responsible and functions under the ambit of the ministry. It takes its directions from the ministry. Obviously, it will have a panel of scientists and everything, but it will be directly under the command and control of the ministry. A non-autonomous, in fact, an autonomous will have an independent decision-making body or a board of sorts. Okay, let me know in the chat if you can recall one particular autonomous organization under the Government of India. All right. Now, what is the ambit? What is the scope of the responsibility of the CWC? With the general responsibilities of initiating, coordinating, and furthering consultation of the state governments. So, it's the primary agency with which you go on engage on, say, water-based issues with the state government. All right. You are looking at schemes for control, conservation, and utilization of water resources throughout the country for purposes of, and these are the purposes, guys. Make a note of this: flood control, irrigation, navigation, drinking water supply, and water power development. You imagine the whole end-to-end of water is covered by the Department of Jal Shakti. Correct? Yes, universities are absolutely correct. ECI, fair enough. ECI is in fact, yes, autonomous obviously. All right. Prasar Bharati is one, yes. Even though it is say under the ambit of Ministry of Information Broadcasting, again an autonomous organization. All right. Universities are absolutely a fair answer there. Okay. So you're looking at investigations, construction and execution of such schemes as required. So all of these Har Ghar, what is that program called? Har Nal Mein Jal, huh? Or say water pipes for all, water for all by 2022. All of that is being implemented by what? The Department of Jal Shakti. All right, the CWC. So it is headed by obviously an IAS officer, and it has got 3 particular departments. Not very important from the exam perspective, however, have a basic idea, because if you know the departments, you know the work the particular agency does. So for example, in the examination, if you cannot recall what are the exact responsibilities of CWC, in case you are able to remember that it has 3 wings: design and research, management of rivers, and water planning and projects, you will be able to give at least a good answer. Har Ghar Jal, yes Pranjul, that's the one. So you see, that's the primary agency, the Department of Water. All right. Okay, we'll come to the third one, guys, very quickly. The whole morning hour 6:30 to 7:30 has to be packed. You shouldn't waste a minute. Next one, 3D printing. Yesterday, Ashwini Vaishnav, he goes ahead and inaugurates India's first 3D printed post office in Bengaluru, Karnataka. Okay. So now it is important for us to consider, okay, that's the fact. UPSC might ask you that. The other state government examinations and all possibly will ask this question. Okay, that where was India's first 3D printed post office? Okay, and 4 very close options will be given. Fine, that is done. The operative part for a UPSC aspirant, what exactly is 3D printing? Okay, so let's look at it now. What exactly is 3D printing? So you must have seen, say, this in the news majorly. So let's look at it. It's additive manufacturing. That's your first giveaway. Additive means you're adding, layering. Okay, it's sort of when you make a cake, how you go ahead layer by layer. Yes, if you have ever say gone ahead and say baked a cake, you will know that you have to go layer by layer. Same thing is the premise on which 3D printing works. Okay. Pranjul, questions are coming. In fact, I have 2 questions here from the last topic that we do, and I am planning to upload the rest of the questions in my Telegram channel, I promise. I missed it the last time round, but this is going to happen today. ठीक है, Pranjul Pakka. So let's understand, how is 3D printing essentially like cake baking a cake. Okay. So you're looking at additive manufacturing of making 3-dimensional solid objects from a digital file. Now, if you are an engineer, you must have heard of this particular software and similar softwares. Okay. So you're going to use design softwares. Essentially, for 3D printing, you're going to need a good computer system. Okay. A good high-end computer system. Thereafter, you're going to basically connect it to a 3D printer, similar to the inkjet printer that you have in your house. Same thing. All right. Now, in your inkjet printer, it gives out, say, the ink, and it goes and prints like this. If you see the movement, it prints like this. Same thing is with the 3D printing. Instead, it has a nozzle, and it uses material to go ahead and print layers. That is the whole essence of it. Okay, let's understand this. It makes 3-dimensional solid objects from a digital file, which means obviously you are going to create and design a particular file. You are going to have a proper design. Just like you have a printer, when you go ahead and print, you have written a particular file, or there's a photo, or there's some sort of table, something is there. Which means the same concept has to be extrapolated when it comes to 3D printing also, that you need to have something designed which you want to print. Thereafter, the creation of 3D printed object is achieved using additive processes. An object is created by laying down successive layers of material until the object is created. Essentially like baking a cake. You go ahead layer by layer, and give it exactly the form that your design has. Okay. Each of these layers can be seen as a thinly sliced cross-section of the object. All right. Now, this is additive manufacturing. So similarly, you have subtractive manufacturing, which is cutting out or hollowing a piece of metal or plastic with an instance. Okay. Same thing. When in subtractive, what do? You go ahead and chisel, no? So for example, if you have a huge rock, okay, in olden times, a huge rock was there. Now you take a hammer and you start to chisel on it. What are you doing essentially? Subtractive manufacturing. Therein lies your raw material. You are just giving it a shape. Whereas additive manufacturing is there is no raw material, you go ahead and print it layer by layer. Clear from the examination perspective? Okay. All right. Let's look at what exactly happens in a 3D printer. So you have a computer system. Okay. You go ahead, design it in whichever software that you are comfortable with. Obviously, you need immense expertise in the software to go ahead and design it. You need to have knowledge of, say, what you are going to print. All right. Thereafter, you go ahead and connect it to the printer. The additive manufacturing happens. See how layer by layer it is getting built. Yes. Eventually, the stack of layers gives you the shape of your design. Okay. And this whole process is 3D printing. Clear? All right. This is your 3D printer finally. Okay. And finally, the last topic of the day, guys. See, we have been absolutely clinical today. 30 minutes, 3 topics done. Okay. What is the raw material used to it? So you're looking at, say, composite material that is used. Okay. Now, what is composite material? It is made up of, say, different elements. All of them work together to create this fundamental lattice on which you go ahead and build your additive layers. Clear? Okay. Now, let's look at this topic, guys, very quickly. This is again a revision topic that we had done previously. So, the regular watchers of this series will be able to quickly go ahead and answer the questions that I have. If you're watching this for the first time, and if you're unable to know this, if you have no answer what exactly is a desiccation plant variety, well, I suggest that you take a recalibration of how you are preparing for your current affairs. Okay, because this was extensively covered by almost all newspapers. So, India's biodiversity hotspot, what you found was that in the Western Ghats, 62 desiccation tolerant vascular plant species were found. Okay, and found by whom? A particular institute from Pune, the Agharkar Institute. Okay, in terms of institute, the Agharkar Institute has been in the news massively in the last, say, 18-24 months. Once again, it would serve well a student to know what exactly and what type of work does the Agharkar Institute do. Okay, so what is exactly a desiccation tolerant plant? It is able to withstand extreme dehydration. Have you ever seen a plant, guys? Okay, so for example, you have a particular plant. All right. Now, you haven't watered it for a long time. Okay, completely lack of water altogether. Suddenly, you go ahead and say sprinkle some water on it. You will see that eventually it begins to come to life. Have any of you had experience with that? That a particular plant, it looks dead, as good as dead. You go ahead, put some water in it, and in some time, it comes to life altogether. If you haven't, well, no problems. But that essentially is the desiccation plant. Okay, that essentially is the whole point of it. That it is able to withstand extreme dehydration, can lose up to 95% of its water, and once again, as soon as you make water available, it comes back to life. That essentially is a desiccation tolerant plant variety. Okay, so what has been found is that the biodiversity hotspot that we have, the Western Ghats, okay, covered under the Man and Biosphere program, home to lot of endemic species, okay, that area is hosting 62 of these plant varieties that can come back to life as soon as you make water available. All right. So now the unique ability allows them to survive in harsh, arid environments. You know what the application of this is, guys? Even though this particular topic may be considered, say, from the MCQ perspective for prelims, from the mains perspective, one angle that you should consider is that research of this particular plant variety will be key and crucial, won't you think? Don't you think so, guys? That the more research we have on how exactly do these plants operate, that they're able to come back to life, say, after having complete lack of access to water. If you are able to go ahead and research enough in it, don't you think it will serve as the fundamental basis on which you are going to develop, say, plant or crop varieties for dealing with climate change? Don't you think that that will be the natural progression in terms of, say, the scientists who are working on this? Which should also be the natural progression for your answers also. Okay? That yes, you have gone ahead and introduced yourself to this topic. From the prelims perspective, obviously, where is it located? Western Ghats. Straight away, the Western Ghats, whole end-to-end of Western Ghats you ought to remember. But from the mains perspective, one thing that you should consider is the practical applications of science and R&D related to the the DT plants insofar as climate change is concerned. Okay, so an aware aspirant would straight away be making that linkage. If that did not come to your head before I had said it, well, it should come now. Okay, that's the way you ought to be thinking. Okay, many times students ask me like, how do we go ahead and make those linkages? So you see, as you have to think straight away as an administrator. Let's be very honest. Okay, you have to develop that thinking straight on. So if you're given a particular MCQ or a particular prelims related topic, don't just limit yourself to the topic. Think from the administrator's perspective that, okay, if a scientist comes and gives me this particular information, how am I going to translate it into, say, a better ecosystem for whatever? R&D, something that can help the public, something that can help the public insofar as withstanding climate change. That's the biggest threat of our generation, coming generations also. So if you can link climate change in a scientific and logical manner to your answers, why not? Okay. So that I digressed, but then I wanted to address this because many times students send me emails or messages asking, and I can't answer each one of you individually. However, I hope you will take that into consideration. Okay. So now DT plants have been studied for their possible applications. See guys, in agriculture, particularly in areas with limited water resources. So arid and semi-arid areas, okay, straight away, you are looking at going ahead and figuring out how can we go ahead and plant more such crop varieties for semi-arid and arid areas, okay, where say water supply is limited. Also, possible applications in areas now that will be exposed to climate change. That will be, say, going ahead and will be directly in the line of desertification. Clear? All right. So of the 62 species, 16 are Indian endemic, which means exclusively found in the Western Ghats. 12 are exclusive to Western Ghat outcrops, highlighting the Ghats' importance as a global DT hotspot. Okay, which means again you are going to find that scientists not just from India but across the world will be taking a lot of importance and interest in the DT plant variety found in Western Ghats. Clear? Okay. So this is what you're looking at, guys. See this photo, completely dried up, no? This is completely dried up. It looks as good as dead. Yes. And then suddenly, as soon as you put water, see how it comes back to life, which is what a desiccation tolerant plant variety is. Okay. So don't get confused in the examination. Now, obviously, say you can go ahead and say, look at examples of what are the plant varieties. So example, 62 of them have been identified. From the Indian point of view, you're looking at 12 of them. All right. Now, you can't go ahead and mug 12 of them, all of them together. Okay. Because again, UPSC can ask any number and ask you to identify which of them are DT crop plant varieties. The return of investment in that effort will not be a lot. However, I suggest you understand the macro concept. Okay. All right. So now this research institute that I was telling you, guys, the Agharkar Research Institute, please make sure that you give due importance to this institute, by the way. Okay, it has been in the news like consistently. I have been reading it in the news consistently since the last 18 to 24 months. Okay, so the Agharkar Research Institute in Pune. Okay, DT plants can be found in both tropical and temperate regions. So obviously, in tropical, you're considering the Western Ghats. In temperate, you're looking at areas, say, in the sub-temperate regions, in fact. Okay. A lot of those areas have DT plant varieties. Once again, why? Because you're looking at the semi-arid and arid that gets introduced in those areas. Okay. Preferred habitats, you are looking at ferricrits and basaltic plateaus. Basaltic, obviously, of volcanic origin. Okay. Dominant genus, Glyphocloa. And thus you have color changes. Remember that it does change color. You're looking at curling of leaves. Why does the curling of leaves happen? What's the point? If a leaf starts to curl, if a plant starts to curl its leaves, what does it indicate, guys? In environment, what would you say that the plant is doing? Again, basic. And for those of you who have watched, say, the Aranya series, the environment and ecology series, you will be able to answer me this. Okay. If a plant starts to, say, curl inward, what does it signify? Why is it closing its stomata? What does it intend to do? Reduce water loss, correct? What would you call this? Is the plant trying to adapt so as to survive in the environment, which means it's an adaptation? Yes, isn't that the word that you would use? That it's a process under adaptation, correct? In the Aranya series, we had discussed about plant adaptation and animal adaptation. I just gave you an example of plant adaptation. Someone tell me an example of animal adaptation in the chat. Very quickly, guys. Let's make it as interactive. You'll learn, see. The whole point of this 45-50 odd minutes is that you should learn concepts rather than listen to a story. Okay, let me know. Give me an example of an animal adaptation very quickly, guys. So many examples exist. Give me any one. Okay, I just told you an example of a plant adaptation. A curling of leaves so as to reduce water usage. You're going to close your stomata, no? Batao mujhe. Good call, guys. Socrates, Raghavendra. Correct. Tell me about an animal adaptation very quickly. All right. So future potential, obviously, crop varieties in arid and semi-arid areas plus in the face of climate change. Okay, this is what an aware candidate according to UPSC would propose in the way forward if a question regarding DT plant varieties were to be asked in the mains. Clear? Let's go ahead and solve this question, guys. Chalo. Fatafat batao mujhe. 2 questions I have for you. Solve the questions. You go home, have your chai pani. Yes, we all move forward. Skin camouflage is correct. Correct. Why do giraffes have long necks? Same. Or say or forget giraffe. What you must have seen or observed. When you go to hilly areas, the dogs there have a lot of fur. Huh? You all consider, in fact, even I have, that, oh, we should get that dog in the plains areas, but it will not survive. Right? As simple as that. The dog has adapted to the cold temperature of, say, Darjeeling or Manali or Srinagar, which is why it has got a thick fur around it. Whereas the same dog, or not the same dog, but dogs in Delhi, they are all furless. It's almost like bones only, bones and skeleton. Why? Obviously lack of nutrition and everything, but also they have adapted to the local environment, the tropical environment of sorts. Clear? Iska answer batao mujhe, jaldi, quickly. Let's do this. Let's solve the question. Agarkar Research Institute, Department of Science and Tech, Institute of Wood Science and Technology, MOEFCC, National Institute for Ocean Technology, Ministry of Earth Sciences. In fact, this is the organization that is responsible for what? Is this the organization responsible for this particular vehicle, Gadi? Tell me. What is the Matsya 6000? See, this is how you're going to link fatafat, guys. Current affairs has to be revised. Then it is fun, no? Batao mujhe, where is the Institute of Wood Science and Technology located? I'll give you options. Is it located in Bangalore? Is it located in Hyderabad? Is it located in Chennai? Or is it located in Kolkata, sorry. Quickly. You know that the Agarkar Research Institute is in Pune, right? Leave the answer for me this in the comment box, guys. ठीक है? मुझे आप बताओगे लेकिन. Leave all these answers for me. Where is the Institute of Wood Science located? What is exactly the Matsya 6000? And whether Agarkar Research Institute is in Department of Science and Technology. ठीक है? You will let me know. Next, this question, guys, batao mujhe. Geography people, those who have studied their NCRTs, those who are doing Indian geography from NCRTs, follow the whole geography, consider yourself at least well read in NCRTs. Should not be a difficult question. Okay, should not be a difficult question. All right, you will answer these for me in the comment box. All right, please leave the answers for me in the comment box. If you enjoyed this class, if you learned something out of the last 40 odd minutes that we have been on air, go ahead and leave me a like. The like count is abysmal, my God. It completely demotivates me. Go ahead, leave me a like. Okay, it wouldn't cost a thing. All right, so that completes our today's class. We have discussed 4 topics in 40 odd minutes, and I have left you with 2 questions. The rest of the questions coming up on my Telegram channel at noon. In fact, afternoon, after I have a little bit of khana pani. All right. And the PDF of this particular lecture, you will find it uploaded on my Telegram channel. Go ahead, access it, revise it. Make sure that you are able to quickly correlate as I intend to teach to you. All right. And make sure that your day is productive. At least start your day productively. 40 odd minutes, you have covered 4 topics. Okay. All right. That's it for today. Till I see you on Monday morning. Monday morning, we will take a look at a deep dive. In fact, I have a couple of topics from the Independence Day announcements that I wanted to discuss today, but we will leave it for Monday morning. Okay. I hope to see many of you here. I have been encouraged by your response insofar as the previous classes is concerned. Not today. Today again the like count is not moving. So go ahead, like the class, comment if you like something, comment if you didn't like something. Okay, I'll try and improve. All right, see you on Monday, guys. Have a fantastic weekend. Bye.